Metropolis, truth makes headlines, but power rewrites the rules. Clark Kent thought his biggest challenge was telling the story until one decision to stop an international crisis put the entire world's eyes on Superman. And somewhere in the shadows, Lex Luthor is waiting. Not with brute force, but with influence, shaping minds in boardrooms, twisting allies in back hallways, and turning public opinion into his deadliest weapon. As tensions rise, Lois Lane digs for the truth, even when it means putting herself in the line of fire. Crypto stands by his side, ready for any fight. But in this battle, strength alone won't save them, because even the Man of Steel has limits. Directed by James Gunn and introducing David Corenswet as a Superman for a new generation, grounded in hope, built on heart, and tested like never before. It's a bird, it's a plane. No, it's Superman. Not a reboot, a rebirth.
Welcome to the Burnt or Butter podcast. I'm Stetson.
And I'm Toast.
And we are talking about Superman in 2025 because there is so many Supermen out there.
Some might say there's not enough.
I don't know. I think that's what we're going to discuss today on did they finally actually do it? Did they do it? Did DC do it?
Well, that's a good question. Some say yes, some say no. This movie has been the victim of many a harsh critic, but also of some big fans.
I feel like most people want to like this movie because DC just needs a win. DC has become a joke in the last 5-6 years. Like they can't they just can't make a movie that is worth anything.
Except for the Batman starring Robert Pattinson.
Yeah, but that one definitely didn't feel DC. You know, after Batman Begins, you go into, the Joker. And those aren't, all the Batman series with Christian Bale, amazing, obviously. But then you're introducing any other superhero. It's never worked. You got Ben Affleck coming in. Man of Steel was okay. It was good for for Man of Steel, but after the first movie just broke down, was horrible. Mm-hmm. Green Lantern's never been good. And we have the Green Lantern again in this movie.
And this is the best he's ever been.
And he's a joke in this one.
he's a punchline. Yeah. But he's fun. He's fun in this one, Green Lantern. I feel like this is his best iteration. But yeah, I think you're right. DC needed a win, and Suicide Squad, I feel like has gotten us somewhat close. They had some interesting ideas, some fun things in that one and the Birds of Prey movie, but there weren't any slam dunk movies.
Well, you got the Justice League that it should have been good.
Yeah.
Wonder Woman that did really well. Talking about the Green Lantern too. Could you imagine a standalone movie with this version of Green Lantern? It would be so bad.
Yeah, I don't think that this Green Lantern exists without the team, you know, but yeah.
It's interesting. I feel like when you're watching this Superman, you want it to be good, like I was saying. And so you're just constantly finding things that are like, oh, I like that. I like that. I'm actually enjoying this a little bit. Go back and forth when you can kind of look at the whole and think it's still not that good.
Yeah. I feel like the characters are there. They've done some really interesting things with the characters, when you see Clark and Lois kind of banter back and forth and then do the interview with Superman, it's an interesting scene, right? And then you have just these little vignettes kind of throughout the movie where you just have scene, you know, and they're fun. You can take them by themselves, but then it just feels like you're moving from scene to scene to scene, like a lot, you know, and it doesn't necessarily feel totally cohesive. It feels more like you're watching an episode of something, you know.
That's interesting. I can totally see that. I do think the dynamics between the characters were more interesting than normal. You know, like Clark Kent, I think, was an interesting guy, where normally Clark Kent doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
And the Lois Lane, I feel like, was the most different I've ever seen from Lois Lane. Like, this Lois Lane was very much integral to Superman's life in the way of, like, not just I just love Lois Lane, but I need Lois Lane to be Superman. And I feel like I haven't felt that in other movies.
Yeah. I feel like the casting was really good. You know, obviously David Corenswet was great. Looks and felt like Superman. And yeah, really good. Lois Lane was great. Jimmy Olsen was great. And then Mr. Terrific, I thought, was actually pretty fun.
Yeah. Mr. Terrific was, I have never heard of Mr. Terrific ever before until this movie. And you slowly get to like his character throughout the movie. Yeah. It's just like a slow, originally you're just like, this guy, I don't really like him. I don't get what's happening with him. But then you slowly get to see the layers of who he is, that he is super narcissistic in the way that he thinks he's the smartest person on the planet. But he also understands the dynamics of that he needs to care about people too.
And he's badass, you know, like that fight scene came out of nowhere and he just took care of it.
Yeah. He just makes his like safety bubble around Lois and then just destroys like 50 people.
Yeah. So that was pretty fun. I feel like that's the moment in the movie where I thought, like, this is pretty fun. This is a really fun movie.
I do think this Lex Luthor was the most bearable Lex Luthor that I've seen in all the superhero movies, where most of the time he's just annoying and dumb, and you don't really see the vendetta that Lex Luthor has against Superman for whatever reason. Yeah. But this one felt more real, more authentic, and just this regular guy trying to become better than Superman. Like, in whatever way possible that he can. He's like, I can outsmart him. I can outplay him. I played so many hours of what's the Mortal Kombat that I can just call out moves. F17, 5, whatever, B9, whatever. Jab, kick. Like, he had all these like memorized moves that he could just call out like as people are going to fight Superman. It's so funny.
I did feel like my only real criticism of the movie is making Superman fight himself in the first movie in this universe. I felt like maybe that's going a little bit too far, too fast. Like, he can't even beat himself.
Yeah, but I feel like that's the only way that they could rationalize beating Superman, is that Superman is just as powerful as Superman.
Yeah. I mean, Superman has like General Zod and stuff who canonically have beaten him up. I just felt like it felt cheap to me when they revealed that it was just a clone of Superman.
I definitely didn't like it because the clone was just a shell. Right. And that felt weird to me. Yeah. Like, when they revealed him, like, this clone has no thoughts of his own. no emotions. It would have been interesting if there was a fight inside of the clone's own brain of him wanting to be Superman, but realizing that there can't be two Supermen,
Right.
that he has to be the opposite of the Superman. So there's a want and a desire to destroy that Superman so that he could be the only.
But instead, it was just, there's no thought. He's
Yeah.
essentially a robot.
Just a shell
Yeah.
that Lex could control. I wish that there was something more to him that made there be some sort of battle that's
Right.
happening internally to him. And then I feel like that would have made it morally a battle for Superman as well, of like, I can see this person is real and like,
Right.
I don't want to just kill a random person that is struggling or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
So there would have been more of a hesitation of like destroying himself type idea.
Yeah. And then also just living in Metropolis seems exhausting. Like it just seems so monotonous to have giant creatures crushing buildings and stomping on your dog and stuff. Like,
yeah. Well, and the scene where just Superman and Lois Lane in their apartment and they're looking out the window and they're fighting just a giant orb, the Green Lantern and the other guys. It's like, if this is your nightly thing, like, why wouldn't you just move to the country where Superman's parents are?
Yeah.
Where nothing's happening.
I would have never come to Metropolis.
One thought that I had seen someone talk about was like a Man of Steel. Clark Kent grows up as a human and then kind of discovers that he's super. And in this movie, and so it's a human person trying to become a superhuman, mentally type idea. And this Superman knows that he's super for his entire life and he's trying to be human.
Yeah.
And so that dichotomy or that difference is fun and different enough to where it kind of makes you forget the Man of Steel Superman because it feels like a completely new, a completely different mentality.
I did walk out of the theater and Charlie and I were talking. I completely forgot Man of Steel. Like that Superman doesn't exist to me anymore. David Corenswet did such a good job being Superman that I really can't remember any other Superman other than Christopher Reeves.
Yeah. It definitely feels way more comic bookish, where the Man of Steel feels more real.
Yeah.
Kind of like, and I guess it makes sense in the world of the Justice League that was built because, Ben Affleck kind of feels more of that like realish, not superhero comic book feel.
Yeah.
And so Man of Steel kind of has that same feeling to it. But this felt very comic book.
Yeah.
And I think that's where most people are finding like the praise in this movie is that it feels original, but not original, I guess, in that way.
A lot of it did feel very similar to like Suicide Squad or Guardians of the Galaxy. Like there was a couple of scenes I actually rolled my eyes a little bit because it felt so much like a scene from Guardians of the Galaxy, which was also James Gunn. He's got such a distinguished style that you see something that he made and you just know, oh, he did this, So
what scenes are you talking about? What scenes do you think I'm trying to
well, the Mr. Terrific scene where it's like the slow-mo go around kind of deal.
So I don't know his name, but the guy with a whistle arrow. It's kind of the same type of scene.
Yeah, whatever his name is. That exact, or like when they're I think it's like the opening scene for Guardians 2 where they're fighting that big monster thing, and he does like all the fast camera movement and the slow-mo shots, and there's always like some song that it's set to, and
yeah,
it just feels very James Gunn.
Yeah, I think the Hawk Girl, and Mr. Terrific.
I also did think that they were saying hot girl a lot of times. They're like, that's a hot girl.
Until she squeals. I was like, that was cringy.
That was not hot.
Cringy. Oh my goodness. And I'm just coming from Last of Us, and she's the actor in Last of Us.
Oh, okay.
And so it was so hard to get the Last of Us character out of my mind and into Hawk Girl character. And I feel like the Last of Us kind of ruined that
Ruined
for me.
it for you.
Yeah.
I didn't watch Last of Us, so I was thinking, oh, she did a pretty good job.
I think she did a good job. But yeah, I think that band, the Justice Gang, or whatever they want to call it. What does he want to call it?
I can't remember.
Is it gang?
I think it might be gang.
Justice Gang. And that definitely felt Guardians of the Galaxy-ish, where you have these quirky individuals that work together, that don't want to work together, but do work together.
It's like the Thor and the whatever his
Captain
name.
America?
No. Guardians of the Galaxy. Chris. What's his name?
I can't freaking remember his name now.
Anyways, when they're like, yes, I'm the captain of the ship, going back and forth, it felt like that.
Mm-hmm.
We're not calling it that.
Yeah. There's a lot of good stuff in this one. I do think it's a good sign for DC.
Yeah.
That they kind of get a green light into doing more stuff, because this one actually made money, where most of their films in the last 5 years haven't made money.
Yeah.
I don't know. It will be interesting to see what they do past this, because they have, the Supergirl that came out at the very end of the cameo. And they have all the Justice Squad, going into the Justice League again. And I wonder, if they'll rebrand Wonder Woman and things as well.
Yeah. They are coming out with new Wonder Woman and stuff like that. But I think you're right. This is a good introduction to this new universe that they're trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
While I was watching it, there's so many different characters that they introduce that barely get touched on, and so that in the upcoming movies they're going to have a bigger part, and it's going to be more interesting. And so it kept on making me interested in what's coming next. You know?
I did like that they touched on that his glasses were like hypnosis glasses.
Oh yeah.
So that his face is completely different when he's Clark Kent.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, well, they explain that. But who made the hypnosis glasses? Where do you procure those?
Those are the things, man. Those are the things where maybe they'll explain it and maybe they won't, but it's cool that they threw it in there.
I understand on it. I did think, what's his name? Crypto the dog.
Uh-huh.
I thought it was a good touch. Originally when I saw him in the trailer, I didn't like it at all. I'm like, oh, that's stupid. You're bringing in a Superdog. Come on. And throughout the movie, I was iffy about it, but towards the end, when they're kind of breaking out of the prison and stuff, I was like, okay, I guess it's okay.
Yeah. I saw a video about, the scene when he's freaking out at Lex. Where's the dog? Where's the dog?
Mm-hmm.
I saw a video explaining that because that's not his dog, it's Supergirl's dog. He was actually worried about what Supergirl would do. I mean, she shows up drunk and her dog's gone, missing, what's she going to end up doing?
That's true.
So he was more worried about what's she going to do than
actually caring about the dog.
Yeah. But you could tell he liked the dog by the end.
I did like the guy that could turn into any element. I thought that was really cool. And his son. The dad aspect of this movie got to me, just because I just had a kid. It always does. And so leaving the film, I was very moved by the dad aspect, especially when he, sits down in the chair and it's like, oh, I'm going to show you your best memories. And it's just him being a kid, and his parents showing him all these different things, and kind of the idea of like the core memories type mentality that this is what's going to carry on for the rest of this person's life, of kind of the most or best moments of this person's life.
Yeah.
And then just the talk that his dad gave to him when he was at the farm was just really, really good. And that aspect I really enjoyed and wasn't expecting from a superhero movie either.
Yeah, and they fit so much into this movie, so much action, so much emotion, and it's cool that they still had time for moments like that where you're like, oh.
It was kind of cool that it felt like this started in the middle. It was like this coming out and the idea of, who this person is. We don't need to explain Lex Luthor. We don't need to explain, Clark Kent. We don't need to explain like that he has parents that are human, but he has we know all this.
Right.
So let's just start right in the middle of a battle that nothing about, kind of as these characters appear. I did think that was new and different, where there wasn't a need to rewind and explain. It was just implied. Hey, we know who this is.
Yeah.
Even though it was brand new characters, brand new, kind of universe world. I felt like that was, I don't know if it was a risk, but it felt risky.
Yeah.
In a way, you don't know if people are going to enjoy that or want that. But
or if we're going to buy into this guy as Superman, as such a beloved character that quickly.
Mm-hmm.
It worked.
Yeah. Well, should we rate this thing?
Let's do it.
I'll go first. I am going to say that this, and just so everyone knows, I come up with these ratings on the spot.
So everyone knows, I spend weeks thinking about this.
I'm going to give this a 3.8. I think that this is an above average superhero movie, above average for DC, super watchable. A lot of people are going to connect with different parts of this movie, whether you're a dog person, whether you're a comic book lover,
whether you like slow motion bouncing,
whatever it is. I think you're going to find something that you enjoy in this. And so I think that 3.8 is a good rating for it.
I'm going to have to agree. I a little bit lower, 3.75.
Yeah, he thought about weeks. Weeks he brought up that number, not based off of my 3.8.
I will not be swayed. I will not be swayed by you. I said 3.75.
Yeah, he only said 3.75 because I said 3.8. He would have said 3.7, maybe 3.8.
No. Because it's right in between a 3.5 and a 4. It's right that sweet spot, 3.75.
Okay.
For similar reasons, it had a lot more depth than a lot of superhero movies that feel like they're just being rushed out these days. There's so much superhero content. Mm-hmm. And this one was fun and interesting. Mm-hmm. So 3.75.
All right.
Right there. Right on the dot.
So in the comments, if you made it this far, give us your rating on a 1 to 5 scale, what you thought about this movie. Because it'll be interesting to see if you agree, if you don't agree, if you think that an extra 0.5 is warranted, or if it should be less than that. Let us know what you think. We just hit 50 subscribers while we were filming this earlier today. And so that's a big thing. I mean, we started this at the beginning of the year and have no idea if we would have any subscribers or how long. We decided we were going to do this for a year, commit to doing a review at least once a week for a year. And yeah, we'll see where it ends up at the end of 2025. But it's pretty awesome. 50 people out there decided to click a button to follow us.
Yeah. And we appreciate all the comments. Hit us with all of the your dumbs that you can think of.
Only if it's directed towards Toast.
Yeah. I'm the one who has thick skin here, so please hit me with all the insults.
Well, if we go back to all of our other comments, usually Toast is one that's wrong. So so keep telling him that he's wrong.
Yeah. Eventually I'll get the message.
All right. We'll see you in the next one.